For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
Hey, everybody. We're not pretending we're in Dunkin' Donuts tonight. We're going to actually show you what this how this all started, because the Lost Chapter started with Russ, Raef, and I, after game nights, would go hang out in Dunkin' Donuts for real and chat about whatever was going in our heads, right?
Yes.
And since then, it has become, the Lost Chapter shtick was, it's just like us gaming, but it's not. We have notes and stuff, and, we try to think ahead of time of a good topic and what the angle's going to be. Well, it's interesting because we have all that on our little show notes that we're all looking at right now, and we're not going to use them.
Not a word.
Because I might talk about Ninja Dice. It might come up. Because we just got into a very heated discussion recording an upcoming segment about Star Wars Episode 3. And we're not talking about Return of the Jedi here. We're talking about the actual Episode 3.
Return of the Jedi is Episode 8.
6, isn't it? 6?
6.
Wouldn't it be 6?
Yes, 6.
Russ
I'm already on to the new ones.
Traveling again.
I'm already on to the new ones, which will also be excellent. I'm very excited with the new ones.
So the interesting thing was that Raef brought up Episode 3 and has a really intriguing theory about the end of Episode 3 that Russ and I had never thought of before. Russ, because he just cannot be bothered to think about Episode 3 or admit its existence.
Episode
Me,
3
because it was just not something that I had ever thought about. But it expanded to this conversation that then went on after we stopped recording, and we thought, this is what the Lost Chapter was all supposed to be about, as we're sitting around having our coffee. And so we decided, Russ is a little nervous, so you're going to have to, give him some leeway, because we're going without a net.
No net, people.
We're not pretending we're in Dunkin' Donuts, so the intro is totally different. Really? So we're like blowing the whole thing up. We're blowing this is a meta Lost Chapter.
I might be eating a crawler though, so it might be still close.
You may or may not be. I may or may not be drinking Diet Coke.
I am drinking coffee and Diet Coke.
And I'm not pretending it's coffee this time.
Ooh, I've got a little bit of my Dunk's coffee left. Okay.
All right, there you go. See?
Well, there you go. Okay.
All right,
see, there you go. There. So Russ pointed out a while ago that we have done not that long ago Why Star Wars is Cool Lost Chapter. Mm-hmm. So Raef was like, well, let's just throw this other stuff away and talk about the he wants to talk about just Episode 3. Russ thinks Episode 1 is great.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and you're going to be eavesdropping in on this conversation that we will now pick up in media res.
Already in progress. It's a classic Geek Fight. Which episode's the best?
Here we go.
That's
worst.
right.
All right. I'm not going to talk about what happened before. You'll hear it in the episode. But basically what happened was I'm making this premise, and Russ blurts out, to my horror and dismay, what? Episode 3? Oh, it doesn't exist. I'm like, Craig, what is he talking
Episode
about?
3 is dead to me, Raef.
Yeah, I've come to learn that Russ apparently doesn't like Episode 3, which shocks me.
It is the episode I've seen.
Goes so beyond doesn't like.
It is the episode I've seen the least number of times.
Oh my gosh. Okay, do we start
one
there?
and a half.
So let's just start there. Why? Are you insane?
Well, no. I mean, what do we start by stating that it's almost a given in geekdom that the prequels are lesser than the originals, right?
Which
I mean, even Raef, who enjoys the 3, you say you see the prequels are better?
I say the prequels are not better. They are equally as awesome as 4, 5, and 6.
That is
the whole.
That may be the most radical comment on this that I've heard yet. So
I know
that is very radical.
People love 4, 5, and 6 of our generation because they saw it and it was mind blowing, and their mind cannot be blown as much as it was in 1978 when you saw A New Hope, which we knew was Star Wars
not why they're better.
That's true.
That's true, but not why they're better.
But wait, there's a datum missing. There's a data point missing to your argument, which is an entire generation who, at the same time, at the same point in their psychological development, was exposed to the prequels did not embrace them the way we embraced the original 3.
I can
So
only
where is
talk
that?
about
There should have been if the
My
argument is
4
they're
children.
equally good. Yeah.
my 4 children all liked the prequels, no problems. And they
But
love
what-
Luke and Leia and Han Solo and all
What
that.
is their
No
favorite
problems.
episode? What's their favorite episode?
Emmy, who's 8, I think it's Return of the Jedi, probably because of the Ewoks,
Yes.
which is my least favorite episode.
Wrong, but okay. She's right. You're wrong. What's the other? What does your other child think? But I'm not judgmental.
Lou, I think likes Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, well,
I
Lou's
don't know if
Lou's
Sage,
confused
who's
by his
now-
father.
Hey, Russ, hey, hold on to your hat. Craig, hold on to your hat. Sage will be 22 in August.
What?
That's
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that ridiculous?
None of us can have a daughter over the age of 12.
just ridiculous.
First of all,
know.
you can.
So I
You're
will
not allowed
ask
to have a
her. I'm having
22-year-old
dinner with her
daughter
tomorrow.
Raef. It's not allowed.
And I don't know Addie's. Addie probably. Addie's not a big TV watcher, so she probably doesn't even know the 6 of them. But okay.
Yeah.
But so now I just heard another freak out moment that you think 6 is good. 6 is the worst.
What are you talking about? Oh, you are crazy, dude. You are crazy.
Oh my god! Because of those stupid little Ewoks,
No.
Yeah,
killing
the
things
Ewoks
with
are not-
logs.
The Ewoks-
How did they even?
the
How did
Ewoks-
they even know or have time to
Look,
get that little mini walker
The
in
Ewoks
between
are
the
silly.
dumb logs?
The Ewoks are silly. But if you're going to make a character set to appeal to young children, the Ewoks are the way to do it. The Gungans are not. So I would say that the Ewoks are cool. But now, the best episode of Star Wars ever made by man, and it is universally agreed, anybody who disagrees about this is just plain wrong, is, of course, The Empire Strikes Back. But Return of the Jedi holds up. It's got some great lightsaber duels. Luke versus Vader is a fantastic saber duel, especially for the time it was made. There's a fantastic fight scene or space battle around the new one. Han Solo and Leia have some of the best lines in the film in that one, and the whole scene and the idea of the AT-STs and the jungle fight and the introduction of the speeders were awesome. That woodland speeder scene is one of the best in any cinema ever. That film is awesome. That film is just fantastic. It may not be as good as Empire, but it's a great film.
This is going to blow your mind. I actually think I like Episode 1 more than I like Empire Strikes Back.
No, that's wrong. I like episode 1, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'll just say that
No.
right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So let's both agree on why Episode 1 is awesome, Russ.
Yeah, I can agree. Okay, go ahead. You start.
Okay. Episode 1 is awesome because A, Liam Neeson
Yes.
plays the coolest Jedi ever. He's calm.
Yes.
He's cool. He's collected.
He is the best
He's
Jedi in
never
the series.
rattled.
Yes, he's better than Mace. They blew it with Mace.
Yes.
Yes. Liam Neeson's
Yes.
better. Yeah. Qui-Gon's the best Jedi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mace was
would agree.
meh, and I like Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, but it wasn't him. It was
no.
the writing. He didn't get a good scene.
Yeah. The I think the lightsaber duel. That's my favorite lightsaber fight with
yes.
Obi-Wan,
It's very good.
Liam Neeson,
That's some of the
Qui-Gon,
best
and what's his name? Darth
Yeah,
Maul.
I would say that's some of the best sword fighting, quote unquote, in any cinema. And
Yep.
so, yes, so one of the reasons that episode 1 is so good
And
is because
amazing music.
That's what I was going to throw that in there. The music,
Mm-hmm.
the Duel of Fates lightsaber duel is one of those moments in the movies that when you see that, you will never forget it.
Or you
Correct.
hear the music, you just get a chill every time you hear the music.
Other part of episode 1 that I think also makes it awesome and not quite as good as Empire is Empire has the best intro of any Star Wars film and arguably of any movie ever, which is the attack on Hoth. Now,
That is very cool.
the opening scene, and that's why anybody who tells you Empire's not the best one is just flat out wrong.
I forgot Hoth was in
Yeah, if
Empire,
you-
actually, so I might have to take
if you
that
forget
back.
Hoth, Hoth is the
No, I
best.
remembered Hoth, but somehow
Yeah,
forgot.
Hoth
it was
is the
in
best
Empire.
combat scene ever made in a film. So I'm just going out there. But what? This is what Star Wars is awesome. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. So in episode 1, and I'm a total Star Wars fanboy. I'm not gonna lie. In episode
We're gonna get kicked out of Dunkin' Donuts if we keep this up.
episode 1 has the second best opening, which is one of the things about episode 1 that is so nostalgic for me and so fantastic is you have to remember the nostalgia for an old fart like me. So there has not been a new Star Wars movie in the theaters for over, almost 20, 30
20 years. Over 20 years.
Right. So
Exactly.
and you've only ever seen, ever, in the first Star Wars movies, essentially one Jedi on the screen at a time.
Correct.
So when that opening scene in the Trade Federation, where you had 2 Jedis on there, and it starts off with like, have you ever faced a Jedi before? No, but I don't. And that whole scene of 2 Jedi just kicking the crap out of those droids.
Shield droids? Those shield droids? You're like, what?
Just set the tone for how awesome the Jedi were and how awesome it was executed. So that scene bookended with the lightsaber duel at the end just really, for me, just really captured the essence of what I loved about the original Star Wars. And
wow, there was 17 years between the Return of the Jedi and wow.
And you had some really witty repartee, too, that they couldn't maintain the rest of the series. This is what bummed me out about episode 2 and 3. So the repartee between, they actually figured out a way in that one to have a Jedi be kind of funny and fun. They had Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon was a straight man, and they did a good job. It wasn't quite like Luke and Han or Han and Leia, but it was there, and you had that character thing that really made Star Wars work in the original. The rest of once Qui-Gon dies, they never really they try to do it with Anakin and Obi-Wan, but unfortunately, the actor that plays Anakin, either he was directed very, very poorly or just sucked. And so any episode with old Anakin in it flat out sucks because of him and because of how he's directed. And he could not pull off the love scene with him and Padme, so it also sucks. And because so much of episode 2 and 3 are dedicated to that, they just suck. And it just
true.
It's just they just are awful movies. They're awful acting. There's awful writing. There's awful directing. They just are bad films. And that's what bummed me out about 2 and 3. 1 didn't have that. 1 had Anakin Jr., which some people are like, oh, it's like Ewoks, but he was fun. He didn't act very well, but he didn't have to. And the pod racing scene was pretty fun. And
I thought the pod racing scene was great.
I thought the pod racing scene was iconic. It was great. It was fun. It
was kind of cool to see the underworld of the Gungans.
Sebulba and the whole bringing Tatooine back was kind of cool, and that whole thing was neat. And so episode 1 worked for me on a lot of, Jar Jar was kind of weird, but I kind of liked the big battle at the end between the probe droids and the Gungans. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was neat. It was different. So I thought episode 1 was a really fun film. I don't think any of the first prequels had the characters that the second 3 had, which what I think makes the second 3 great films. If you go through and you watch, and I know this because I'm literally watching, since they all came out on digital, I'm rewatching the Star Wars films with my daughters, and we're starting with 4, 5, 6. So we just watched 4, New Hope. We just watched Empire like a week ago, and I was just sitting there again. Nicole and Kablish, there's all the best lines in Star Wars are in Empire, all of them, every single one. I'd rather kiss a Wookiee, all that stuff's right. It's just great writing.
I'm not a line guy, so that doesn't.
Yeah, but the interactions with Han and Leia, the all of that stuff's so great. Bespin, the idea of a giant floating city in the clouds was awesome. But, I mean, there's so many cool scenes. It's just a great film.
I'm not a Hayden hater as much as the whole world is. The love scenes, they were awkward, but I think it's because he had this. Hayden chose, or that's his way as voices, who played Anakin. It had this weird inflection. I don't know. You're right. You didn't look at them and go, "Oh, they love each other."
I didn't care about either.
But that's up. We're not even. Episode 2 is like whatever. I can't even tell you what happens in it. But how is it that you don't like episode 3?
What's good about it?
Okay, let's talk about what's good about it. You've got Obi-Wan, who's kind of coming onto his own before he becomes a wise old sage. So he's kind of got this role of like big brother, but yet he's still a mentor. You've got Anakin starting to get like really ticked off that he's not being made a master, and he's at least verbalizing the conflict if he's not acting it that well. Where he's kind of like, I shouldn't have just killed Count Dooku, but yet I did, and so he's kind of verbalizing his path towards the dark side. You get to see more of the Emperor. The Emperor turns into you get to see he's a Sith Lord. He uses Force powers for the first time, which is awesome.
Except I saw that in episode 6.
The lava scene is incredibly good, well choreographed. You've got Obi-Wan who shows why he's a master because he outsmarts. Because everybody knows Anakin's way better lightsaber duelist than Obi-Wan could ever be. If not, he's the greatest lightsaber duelist ever. And yet Obi-Wan wins. Why? Because he's older and more wise. That's awesome.
Well, you're talking plot points,
and you get to see Darth Vader.
Yeah, you're talking
all that.
Well, you're talking plot points,
that all the way.
But I think
And you get to
execution's
see
what
Darth
makes
Vader.
it bad, though. So
What's that?
you're talking about the plot points, which does build the story properly. But if you talk about the execution of those plot points, I think they all fall flat. Now, Craig, what do you think?
Okay, let's talk about that.
What do I want? What do I think? I don't. I mean, I haven't seen it in probably 15 years.
Wow, what? That's insane to me too.
Yeah,
I think I've seen it 15 times in 15 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an exaggeration because I think it came out like 15 years ago, but not even. No, it's been like 10 years since I've seen it. Maybe not even that because then it was 2005, and it
So you
came
don't
out.
pop the CD
all
in.
the time.
Yeah, anyway, it's been a while since I've seen it,
Right?
And I don't feel any great urge to like. I like it for the visuals. I like all three of the prequels mainly for the visuals. There's not a lot of. I don't have a lot of emotional stake in the characters as I do in the first three movies. I think Hayden Christensen's acting has a lot to do with that. But I at the same time, I think I enjoy being in the universe enough that I don't hate any of the three. And I can see both of your arguments. I see the weak points, but I also see the points where I can enjoy it and appreciate it. So, I mean, I think the space battle at the beginning of the Attack of the Clones is great. The attack on Coruscant is awesome to me. Although it's got some silly moments also with those like ship-eating droid attack thingies and stuff like that. But
that's the beginning of the third one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, where they're attacking.
Yep, where they're in the,
okay. Well, then
Jedi fighters. And Anakin takes his wing and flicks the buzz droid.
Okay. Yeah. Then
that's
that's
incredible. That's an incredible space scene. Yeah.
So
and the part when Grievous, he's like, "Haha, I'm not living," so he shoots himself out the window and he can live because he can breathe.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't need to breathe or whatever.
But I think, but even so, like that, it really is about the characters. And one of the things that bothered me about the space duels in the prequels, while they are visually stunning, I still think that A New Hope's, the Death Star run is better done because you get to know all these secondary fighter pilots and you feel the deaths of every single one. Like you're in the cockpit with those guys, and for some reason in the prequels,
that's true.
They never pull that off again in the prequels. You don't, everybody's you just don't care about anybody except for Anakin, and it's even hard to care about him a little bit. But they never pull that off. They don't capture that like as well as they did in the second three movies, and I don't really know what that is except they didn't have. I think they were so focused on trying to connect the dots of the plot. They forgot to develop the characters and make you love the characters, except in the very beginning of episode 1 when they.
Or that just wasn't they had a grander palette now, so they didn't have to necessarily make secondary characters.
But what made Star Wars awesome? It's like the bad episodes of Star Trek with the same problem. Star Trek was awesome because of the characters, and I really think that the first 3 episodes of Star Wars, or episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6, the originals, were awesome. Yes, they were set in this strange galaxy with a giant walking carpet, but beyond that, the characters were compelling and interesting. And
what's interesting about that
Yep.
is at the end of one of the digital somethings, there's like a 4-hour documentary. And I think on Empire Strikes Back, Russ, Lucas specifically picked a character director. Yeah. He recognized that this was about the characters for that one. So he picked a director known for pulling character out.
Yeah, and you get that because I would argue that the characters you see in Empire are so strong. And really, they define the characters even more than they did in A New Hope. The scene where Han gets frozen between Han and Leia. I love you, I know.
Oh, that's immortal.
Classic, right? And again, that's there's just
Craig,
so many
what's that
moments.
one with Lauren Bacall, I think it is, or McCall, and Bogart, and frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Casablanca?
Yeah, that's like equivalent. That's our generation's version of that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why Empire's so good. There's all those lines, all that stuff is just right. And remember, Empire is where you first saw Boba Fett too, which made it awesome also because they fixed it in the updated version of New Hope. But originally, you didn't see Boba Fett until Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
That's interesting.
So, but Empire's just great.
Well, here's what I don't get. Okay, yes, Hayden Christensen wasn't maybe the best actor to, get us Anakin. It was wooden, as they said, Woodkin or whatever. But you know what? Okay. Well, two things. I think, Russ, the reason why I'm okay with that is I'm a very simple guy when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, remember, I like Bring It On. Like, I really do. I like that movie. I've seen it multiple times. Okay.
Right.
It's a coming of age movie. I like it. So I'm easy to please when it comes to that. I have a very wide latitude of that, apparently. So it doesn't even go into my consciousness to be like, oh my God, the acting's so terrible, I can't enjoy the movie. I just fluff right over that. But the second thing is that for people who do knock on him, is he really that much? I mean, because I don't know, because I think I'm immune to it. Is he really that much worse? And I love Mark Hamill because he's freaking Luke Skywalker, but I want to get the converters at the Tashi station and all.
But that's a character thing, not an acting thing.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
and
my problem. That line is annoying, but you're annoyed at the character. You're not annoyed at the guy playing the character.
I think Hamill delivered it as he was directed. But the thing is, you look at how Hamill evolved the Luke Skywalker character, and you look at how he plays him when he's a moisture farmer on Tatooine, and how he plays him as a Jedi in Return of the Jedi, and that's a different person. That's someone who's aged and matured, and now is like, and even in Empire when he's just starting to find his way but still fumbling around, and then you get him to where Han's got to pull him out of the soup.
It's a journey, and he does a great job portraying
his character development. There's really visual there. I don't think you see the same character development in Anakin or
you don't. But at the same time, any actor will tell you it's easier to play anger.
Sure.
And that is his character development. So,
it's not as easy to play anger, Craig?
No, it's easier. The easiest thing in the world is to play anger. Everybody does it. Think about it. Think how many times you've avoided conflict with a loved one or a spouse by just pretending you were angrier than you really were. We all do it.
Okay. So I guess...
Or maybe just me. Maybe just me.
You're saying, Russ, that because for one example of Anakin's unbelievability as a character, let's say, I feel bad like picking on this poor actor because I'm like, I couldn't do it. So I
can't do it, but I have to. So it's not one.
I couldn't be an NFL quarterback either. That doesn't mean I can't comment when somebody's doing a very bad job as an NFL quarterback.
I can't do it. I feel bad. I have that issue, but is that what pulls you away? Because that's one thing, and what else?
No, I think it's the writing too. So the characters in general. I mean, he in particular because he's a central one. But imagine 4, 5, and 6 where in a world where Harrison Ford couldn't act or was delivering flat lines or wasn't given any lines. There was no "What a wonderful smell you've discovered, princess." That stuff. And I know you say you're not a line guy, but that characterizes the movie as the fun romp that it is, and so
I get it that you love those are awesome, but what makes you want to make episode 3 not even exist in your head?
Because there's nothing. It has other than visuals. There's nothing going on.
What about the relationship between Padme and Obi-Wan?
But that Padme and Obi-Wan? What do you mean?
Yeah, he cares for her. He checks in on her.
But that's just plot. That's not execution, right? There's no good execution on any of that stuff.
Because, and I don't mean to be pithy, but because there's no kind of really super good Han Solo-esque one-liners,
there's no. I don't see any kind of great moments in the film. It's almost like the film exists to get you to episode 4.
Okay,
it doesn't exist. It doesn't stand on its own as a...
How about the reveal of how Darth Vader got inside the freaking big mega black suit? That wasn't even cool?
But you knew that before. See, the problem they had...
I didn't know that.
The problem they had with these prequels is you kind of know what's going to happen. So that's one ding against them. So,
and you got to establish a whole world from nothing.
So one of the... Well, you don't.
So
no, you don't, because you already have the universe. So
but I mean, you've got to start with... So episodes 4, 5, and 6 telling a part of a story.
Right.
And then you got to go back to the beginning and go, well, there was nothing, and then whoop, all the way up to Darth Vader.
But here's the thing. Remember episode 4? Episode 4 somehow succeeded with introducing a universe that didn't exist at all, that no one preconceived notions about, right in the middle of the freaking story, with no context. You don't even know what the Force is. You don't even know if the Force is real. When you first see episode 4,
but 4, 5, and 6 aren't about the political intrigue that leads to the emperor coming into power. You've got to go through all this boring, slogging political crap.
All of the political intrigue that was good was in episode 1. Everything was established in episode 1 and very, very subtle, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then they hit you over the hammer with it episode 3. It's just like, well, here's how.
I hate it when people hit you over the hammer.
Right.
That's a Raefism right there.
So it's like episode 1 had all that. Like episode 1 jumped you in with the Jedi, like right there.
You weren't even moved by the Mustafar scene? He chokes Padme and Obi-Wan. You are my brother.
Well, that's dependent upon your character and your acting, and that's where that scene falls. That scene I can enjoy, like on a technical level. Like I said, visually, I think it's awesome, and
you know what it is, Raef? When you're acting as that, when I cannot connect with you as a character on the screen, good or bad, it throws me out of the film.
You check out. Okay.
It's like I am no longer
of his main movies.
Well, because I can appreciate his talent and I can appreciate that other people.
Well, I'm thinking like in what just popped into my head was like his appearance in Wedding Crashers.
Oh, hilarious.
Exactly, because there's no fart jokes or bathroom humor or anything like that.
Right. Wedding Crashers is one of my all-time favorite comedies of all time. But I love Owen Wilson.
Yeah, me too.
But anywho, my point being is that so many people love those Anchorman-esque type of movies, and I'm looking at my watch. So when Russ said that, I'm like, oh, I get how you could not like episode 3 now.
Yeah, anytime adult Anakin's on the screen, it throws me out of the film because of how his character is being done. Whether it's him or directing, I don't know. But and because in episode 1 he's not there. It's kid Anakin, and he has limited scenes, and I don't get knocked out of it. But in episodes 2 and 3, because he's so central to the story they're telling and on the screen so much, most of the movies I'm like, whatever.
I gloss right through that.
There are some scenes in those movies that are fun, and he's not in them.
Like I'm almost
like Obi-Wan's awesome. I like Obi-Wan.
I was going to say to me, episode 3 is Obi-Wan. I almost don't even pay any attention to what Anakin's doing. I'm like, yeah, he's going to get angry. He's going to.
And that's where I get my enjoyment from them.
Right.
And that's why I like them and I can watch them and I don't hate them.
In episode 2, I can't even remember. That one doesn't stick
neither,
in my mind.
Me neither, apparently, because what I thought was from episode 2 was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 has the cool ground combat scenes, which are pretty cool.
Oh, that's
and
true.
Yoda flying around in the little drop ships, which are cool.
How about this?
But
do you
two
guys
tried
think
to be
that,
two tried to be Empire again with a big ground combat scene, but it didn't quite pull it off the way Empire did.
Do you think that George? Here's the other thing that I debate. Do you think George Lucas is a crappy writer? Because I hear that all the time.
I think he is a great big idea guy, and I don't think he's super great on dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
think
zero
if
problem
you-
with his writing.
Because Empire was directed by the different person, right? So that was
Yes,
when,
it was.
Yes, Empire was directed
Still
by a different
George
person and not written by George Lucas either.
No, I think it was. I think
No,
everything
I'm
was
looking
always.
I'm looking at Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan wrote The Empire Strikes Back.
What?
No.
Yeah.
Directed by
And
Irvin
this
Kersh.
is why I'm very excited about episode 7. Because I think you've got the right kind of people doing it that are the kind of people that are into characters and that kind of writing, and I think it's going to capture what I hope to see. I know people have mixed reviews about the new Star Treks. I liked the new Star Trek films. I thought,
I love them.
yeah,
They're so good.
So I get it. Captured a lot. They were about the characters. They had some really witty
too.
writing. They had some really witty events happening there. And I think
Now-
they're going to do the
now-
same thing with Star Wars.
Yep. Now let me jump in.
Yeah.
So Lee Brackett and
Yep,
Lawrence
go ahead,
Kasdan wrote The Empire Strikes Back. Okay. Return of the Jedi, George Lucas was back, but he was writing with Lawrence Kasdan.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a similarity, right? Ready for it?
Yeah.
Wait for it. Who wrote Star Wars The Force Awakens? J.J. Abrams, who I have huge faith in, and I'm
Yes.
already a giant, enormous fan of his.
Yes.
And Lawrence Kasdan.
Yes. See? Empire is back. Episode
Yeah.
7.
So
I'm excited.
So I
Now,
guess
who
I
wrote
never
who
knew
wrote
this,
episode
Craig.
1, Craig? Was it all Lucas? Who wrote?
George Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then who wrote episode 2 and 3?
Jo-
Was it all Lucas? He wrote them all, right? Those.
He wrote Star Wars. He wrote, and then Empire Strikes Back was Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan, and then Return of the Jedi was George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan, and then Star Wars: The Phantom Menace was all George Lucas, and Star Wars Episode 2 was George Lucas and Jonathan Hales, and Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, was all George Lucas.
Right.
So when it says story, so I'm looking at Empire Strikes Back. When it says story by George Lucas, he's basically going, I want this to happen, I want that to happen, I want this to happen.
He's the big
But
idea
the nuts
guy.
and bolts of
Right.
it
Exactly.
are
He's got the
being
high-level
done by
plot.
Lee and Lawrence Kasdan.
Those lines that we love, the dialogue, the actual moment by moment what's going on, those are the screenwriters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas is just saying,
Okay.
hey, so first we're going to have this open with these giant ground battle, and there's going to be, Luke's going to get stuck in a tauntaun, and we're going to have this happen and that happen, and then he's going to say, now we're going to have, Han's going to get chased to Bespin, and Han's going to get...
He's like, no, Luke would never say something like that because he's a Jedi, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never realized that. I thought Lucas wrote every single one.
No.
Oh, you guys are cutting in and out. I don't know if I
No,
lost you.
so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I liked 1 a lot. None of the prequels are as good as the originals, in my opinion. And then I would say 3 and 2 are both not great.
Okay.
And I
think we
agree with
hashed that out.
most of what you're saying. Yeah, I agree with both of you.
How about
and
this?
And yeah.
How about
what?
this? Does it break your out of it, Russ, when you go from Yoda 1, 2, and 3 as digital over to Yoda as puppet?
No, you know what? That's
4, 5, and
this
6.
is another reason I am more excited about episode 7. So in episode 7, they are using less CGI and more puppets. In fact,
interesting.
The droid in the preview that his head is hovering above his ball, they've actually made that droid, and his head really does hover above his ball. It's magnetic. So they've because the reason that's exciting is less to do with how it looks on the screen, although it does get rid of some of the uncanny valley that your brain sort of processes with CGI. But more importantly, the actors interact better with things they can actually see. When you actually are talking to a droid that is truly 2 feet tall and looks red with white, they might improv a little bit more with it and interact with it more accurately than they would if you're trying to interact with a guy who's supposed to be a Gungan but actually has got 2 ping pong balls on the top of a baseball hat. So I think
That's a great point, man.
I think that's going to make that more genuine and give you more of the feel of the original 3. And to think about it, even though those original 3 have had some CGI altered, they still stand up, I think. Unlike a lot of
I think they do too.
I.
Yeah, so I think I'm really excited about that.
Do you think there's something to be said for the fact that 4, 5, and 6 with puppets, the actors and everybody, they weren't relying on technology. I mean, the Star Wars lights and film or whatever other thing he created wasn't even in existence.
Industrial Light and Magic.
Do you think they're like that? Yeah, thank you. That the everybody knows that. Well, it's up to us actors to tell this story. It's not because of these cool spaceship scenes. And in 1, 2, and 3, they could have quite coast a little bit due to awesome effects.
I don't think any actor is going to approach it with that mindset, but I think that it is more difficult for an actor. Exactly what Russ just said. It's more difficult for an actor to interact with a ping pong ball on a rod than it is a giant puppet.
Right. You think about
Chewie,
that's
there and looks cool and yeah.
Think about the fact that if Chewie were CGI, how much harder it would have been for them to interact with him than actually seeing what Chewie looks like on the screen, actually standing in front of you. Like they get his intimidation. They get his height,
I just realized something. I know you just said it, but it just sunk in that Frank Oz operating Yoda is creating a live character in that moment.
Right.
Not just the ping pong ball, in other words. Like
acting,
Luke can interact with a fellow actor, if you would.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Versus like they don't know what Yoda's going to look like till the movie's in post-production.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And they had the
let alone
of, right.
Let alone it's a sock puppet or
exactly
something.
Right. Oh, by the way, the reason I like episode 2, I think, more than episode 3 is because it is pretty cool to see Yoda bring out a can of badass. And I believe that's in 2, isn't it? When he just starts flattering.
Yeah, that's the one where he fights Count Dooku.
Yeah, that's a great scene. So I did like
he leaps all around, spins all around.
I liked fulfilling the prediction that Yoda was awesome, kind of backwards in time. But you knew Yoda was a bad arse, obviously from all the legends and everything. But you never see him fight, obviously in the originals. So it was neat to see Yoda go at it, and that was one of the reasons I liked it too. And I did like the ground combat scene in 2 also, the crazy vehicles and the big rolling wheels and all that, and the large number of.
But it was all sillier. It was all sillier.
It was sillier. It wasn't as it was sillier. It was definitely a little more.
I mean, not that an AT-AT's not entirely, not completely unsilly itself.
It's
but
less dark. Yeah,
it was more. And it was more like a uniform army kind of thing than here's this race's silly stuff and this race's silly stuff and this race's silly stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't dislike the digital Yoda, but I like thinking about what you could do as an actor with prosthetics and puppets and such now, as opposed to I really like that they're going in that direction.
I hope it succeeds too, because I'd love to see more
of that.
Bring that back. I mean, it's not that hard to build a remote controlled, robot.
No, but it's more expensive.
Yeah, it's more expensive than CGI. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I hope it works out.
I got 2 more.
Yeah,
2 more thoughts, super quick. Okay, what do you guys think about the quote controversy of Luke's quote in the trailer for the 7th movie? Do you guys even know what I'm talking about, or do you want me to go through the quote of what he says about the Force?
Well, go ahead.
The debate. Okay,
go ahead. So I know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
All right. So I think the debate is that Luke says the Force in Episode 7 trailer, the Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. Your sister has it, and you have it. And so everybody's like, whoa. Why is he saying?
No, he says my sister has it, and you have it. I think he's talking to his kids.
But he says my father has it.
No, I think he said has
present
it.
tense.
No, he says has it.
Oh, does he? Yeah,
he says has.
I'm not so worried about that. But he's talking to his kids.
No, I'm not worried. What do you guys think? Do you think that means anything? Is it a slip of the tongue? Is it?
Well, no, it's not. Well, it's definitely not a slip of the tongue.
He could be saying has, because if you think about it, we've seen Anakin show up as blue glowy guy. And so you can still talk to blue glowy guy. So in Mook's mind,
that's what I'm wondering too.
He's still around. So he still probably gets visited by Anakin and Obi-Wan in a blue glowy mode, and they give him some advice on how to raise his new kids. Or he's either talking to his kids, or he's more likely talking to Leia and Han Solo's kids. Because in the books, the Solo children play a very dominant role. So
but they're not going on the books.
Well,
they're
I know,
not going by.
So they could have Han and Leia get married, and it could be their kids. Luke could have kids. I don't know.
No, not who they're talking to. It's,
I mean,
if he's, go ahead, Craig.
Right. I think it might be Han and Leia having kids because that just makes more sense.
Right.
With the way the characters leave off at the end of episode 6. But, I think that the voice is very rough. And so I think everybody's assuming that it's him because it parallels so closely his line from Return of the Jedi. Maybe it's not him. Maybe it's his son.
I see where you're going with this. I like it. Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That was one thought. I assumed it was him the first time I saw the thing, and I didn't notice the the verb tense. But when I wouldn't say controversy, but when the debate started to occur, I went back and I listened to it a couple times, and I thought, you could make it. It's almost like a Batman voice. It's like, I have it.
Yeah,
you
it is
have
almost.
It. And so it could be his son isn't such a good guy. Maybe, I don't know. This is all speculation, of course, but that was one thought that popped in.
I have to jump into one little comment now that we're talking about Luke line. So, do either of you watch The Flash, the TV show The Flash?
No.
So Mark Hamill. So this is a little bit of a spoiler. So Mark Hamill has played a DC character called the Trickster in the past. So anyway, he reprises his role as the Trickster in a recent episode, or this season's episode, one of these season's episode of The Flash. And this entire episode is I believe, set up to deliver one line, so it is a spoiler. But he's an older version of the Trickster now. He's in prison. He's in jail. There's this new Trickster running around town, calling himself the Trickster, new criminal, doing things the Trickster will do. So the Flash and the police, because the Flash is also a CSI, police investigator, go to the Trickster in jail, Mark Hamill, and is like, this guy's out here. He's like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm here. I'm really upset this guy's using my name. We got to. So anyway, long story short, Mark Hamill, as the older Trickster, turns out that the younger Trickster is working with him and breaks him out of prison. And they're together, and so they're sitting there in their little Trickster lair, and the younger Trickster's talking, and Mark Hamill's talking to the younger Trickster, and he says, do you know why I picked you to be my successor as the Trickster? And the younger guy's like, no, I don't understand. He goes, do you know who your parents were? He's like, no. And he goes, do you know who I am? And he's like, no. And he looks at him with a straight face and says, I am your father. It was just like perfectly delivered. The entire episode was set up so Mark Hamill could deliver that line. It was like awesome. It was like such a great little geeky nod.
Wow.
So it was pretty awesome.
A little homage.
Yeah, it was really great. So anyway.
All right, last controversial point, which could either be the topic of another lost chapter, or you'll just go, no, I'm okay with it.
All right.
Are you guys aware of how George Lucas, when he's changed everything into the digital format, because that's how in his mind he wanted his movies to be, right? And he's wanting and happy with the fact that the VHS tapes will die, erode, and go away, and those copies will no longer exist. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about that?
I've heard that. However, I am firmly confident in Disney's ability to make money, that what Disney has done is they've re-released the modified versions as digital versions recently. So we all went out and bought those again because oh my God, digital version of Star Wars. But now, if Disney's very, very clever, about a year or two from now, they will release the original unedited digital versions of the original Star Wars.
According to George Lucas, that'll never happen.
I don't know. Disney has the rights now, so it doesn't matter what he thinks.
You don't know.
Do they have the rights to the previous movies?
I think
exactly.
I don't know. Well, they're released the new.
I think they have the rights going forward. I think. Oh no! Are you saying they were the ones that released the digital copies?
Yes, the digital copies are Disney copyright.
But that's the version George Lucas likes.
No, I get that, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess
I'm wondering is, it's an interesting. I was upset to hear that George Lucas wants to take the movies I fell in love with and make it so I can never watch them again.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's upsetting to me. But the counter argument and his argument is that, well, I'm the artist and I want to have out there in the world the sculptor that I make, not the sculpture that I hate.
But I think,
I'm a little bit persuaded with that.
But I think there's it's like if Casablanca was colorized, which it has been, and the director said, well, I always felt Casablanca should be in color, so I'm going to remove all copies of the black and white version. You can only watch the colorized version. I think people want to nostalgically see the version they fell in love with. So I think it's wrong to deny. I mean, it's his art, I guess, but I still feel like
it's a really interesting concept of is the art owned by the artist forever, or at some point does it go into the public domain?
I think for a historic record, there should be an option to have the original version.
Yeah,
like I
agree with you.
I mean, I think you should still be able to charge for it, but I would like to be able to see it. You know,
How about you, Craig?
I don't know. I mean, I think I agree with what you guys just said, that he's the artist ultimately. So I guess he should have, it upsets me and it bothers me. Absolutely. But it's not, I believe truly that when a person creates something, it is theirs unless they sign the rights away from it. And they should benefit from it as however they see fit and however they want to, and to whatever extent they're willing to give up the rights or whatever. And so I don't think someone should seize
let's say no rights have been given up. Can it exist in the format that they want it to format? I mean, can it exist in the format that it does and take away other formats? That's what's interesting.
Like, would it take away from his version if the other version also exists?
That's what he says.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because it would. Because I would watch that.
Says.
Yeah, I agree, because I would watch that version instead of his version. So it would affect his legacy.
Right.
Because there would be,
he have
because
that
me
right
and I think he does. Yeah, as the artist, he absolutely has. Just like, I mean, if you got a hold of a draft of a novel and and it wasn't polished, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And then I had the opportunity to destroy that. So the only one was my finished, polished version that I wanted to put out. Then absolutely I have that right.
Even though the world falls in love with your draft and says, no, that's the book. This other thing you made.
Yeah, well then else. that then becomes an issue of the artist's ego. And I think he has every right to be an a-hole. I think that would be being an a-hole, but he has every right to do that, I think.
I don't know. I mean, why is he being an a-hole? It's his work. He wants it to exist the way he wants.
Because you're upsetting a vast number of people.
True.
Which I think by definition is, like, you don't have to upset them. But
all right, I did a little research real quick. And
Yep.
Disney does own the rights from Lucas, except that according to this article I'm reading, 20th Century Fox owns the rights to A New Hope in perpetuity. So they would have to work with with 20th Century Fox to get A New Hope back out. Otherwise, the original theatrical release of New Hope. But yeah, so Lucas is out of the loop, and most rumors think that Disney will try to do this, but it's going to get past that rope.
I'm just surprised because he's been renowned for retaining ownership.
Well,
that's
right,
the case.
but for $4.5 billion, you're giving up an awful lot.
Yeah,
Oh, he doesn't need that.
no, well, he did
No,
it.
I'm saying he did it.
I just think, you know what I think it is? It's this. Look, so you have your fans, you have a bunch of fans. They're not telling you to change the plot. They're not telling you not to do what you think is right. All they're saying is, can I have the original version you
Can I have the draft?
Yeah, no, it's not even the
That's what they're
draft.
saying.
It's not the draft. Can I have the...
It's the original version.
No, using
I-
Craig's analogy.
Can I have the original released version? And I think that's... I don't think that's asking too much.
I don't think so either, but I just found it to be a really fascinating debate, actually. I never thought of it.
Me too. Well, if we were in Dunkin' Donuts, I'd be saying they're going to turn lights on us now.
Right.
Yeah, pretty soon.
They would be kicking us out.
They would be kicking us out. So, Rafe, that was a great topic. I was fascinated by your passion for episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah, 3. The 2, on.
All right, on
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Yeah.
So you don't have any love for lightsaber wielding Yoda, but you like Anakin getting melted in lava. Well, see, I can be with you on that. That scene was I was maybe a little more Schadenfreudy on that than I should have been.
Yeah, it was more Obi-Wan. I really
Schadenfreudy.
I like the coming of age of Obi-Wan in that movie.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right,
guys.
Rafe, thanks for joining us here in what might have been Dunkin' Donuts for a lost chapter.
What may or may not have been
And
Dunkin' Donuts.
We'll see you on the main show here in about a week.
That sounds good.
Where you'll get a chance to hear how it all started.
Yes.
That's right.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.
Bye.